And we're going to jump right on line one because that's where Scott Braddock is. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Well, we're good. Everything going your way?
It's Friday. We're compiling all of the news of the day at quorumreport.com. We're watching the impeachment proceedings in Washington. We're watching how our congressional delegation from Texas is going to vote on all of that. Look, I watch it all because you don't, so you don't have to.
Yeah, no joke, because that would
help.
make my eyes roll back.
No,
I'm here to help you.
Now, Scott, seriously, do you watch all of that stuff?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I had told some folks earlier in the week is this would almost be like if the Texas legislature was being live streamed all across the country. People were watching it. Being in hearings until 4 in the morning or whatever, not unusual for me. But I know that's not what the average person wants to do.
Well,
that's why I'm here, to kind of synthesize, break it down.
Yeah, and we appreciate you for that. But do you really enjoy watching all that much of these hearings on TV?
Well, I enjoy. I'm not sure that's the word I would use. Yeah. It is a real job that I have.
Well, see, you're going to have to do.
People think it's too easy. I think people think it's just easy. I just talk politics. No, it's a real job. I have to watch all this.
Well, you have to know the politics before you talk them.
Hey, I try to know something before I.
Let me just say this, Scott. You're going to have to do what I do. If I watch 10 minutes of that, I have to go watch a Hallmark movie just to clean my brain out.
Have you, well, since you're on the air during the morning, but did you know that there's just a Hallmark, I think it's a Christmas morning show, where they do basically sort of a news show, but instead of any news, they just do, Christmas recipes and things like that.
Well, yeah, it's on Channel 71 on Sunday.
Sounds like a lot better thing than all of this.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, a Republican woman, the other day was telling me that they had to sort of tune out all the news for a little while, just to sort of like the palate cleanser, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And they said they were, watching the Christmas morning show. It was wonderful. They didn't mention Trump one time or impeachment.
It's a way to flush your brain out.
There you go.
So, Scott, I got a question for you. Did you hear that they were going to put a statue of Hitler in the middle of Paris, France? There.
Is that what's happening?
No. I mean, it would be the exact same thing, right? The victor of a battle, but the loser of the war, right in the middle of where that war was. If you put a Santa Anna statue right in the middle of the Alamo, right?
Well, that's an interesting
analogy. Yeah. It's not a very good one, but that's as a Texan. As a Texan, though, that's the way you feel. You're like Santa Anna. Right. It makes you rise up and want to shoot somebody.
All of these rumors were going around about that happening, right? And about the Santa Anna thing,
right?
And the land commissioner, George P. Bush.
Now he's had some crazy ideas, but I just don't know that I believe this one.
He's had some ideas that some people don't agree with, but this is not true. The land commissioner came out forcefully yesterday and said this is just not true. He said, I don't know where this came from, but he went a step further and said that this is. He suggested it's quite racist that people are saying that he wants to put a statue of Santa Anna at the Alamo. Of course, it's been a long-standing controversy. The land commissioner's office has some say-so over what happens at the Alamo battlegrounds, and of course Bush had talked about and has worked. And by the way, it's such a mess because their office is not the only one in charge of it. There's also the city of San Antonio that they have to deal with because they deal with the land right around it. They're in San Antonio, and all these conspiracy theories keep popping up about it. I remember when Jerry Patterson was land commissioner before Bush, and there would be similar sort of rumors about what he wanted to do at the Alamo. And I would call Jerry Patterson up, and I'd say, what's going on here? Is there any truth to this? And Patterson would just say, look, this is coming from InfoWars. Is there anything else you want to know about it? It was always something, sort of over the top. George P. Bush had tweeted out, and I think he put on Facebook as well. He put it on his social media that, no, this is not true. And then he said, look, I think some of the rumors are coming about because my mother is from Mexico. She's a naturalized citizen and all of that. So he definitely strongly suggested that people who were saying this were doing so with racist intent.
Well, Scott, I noticed that there are 3 Texas Democrats in the Congress who have yet to say whether they're going to vote impeachment on Trump.
That's right, and it's interesting where those Democrats are from. Two of them are the Democrats who flipped congressional districts from Republican to Democratic in 2018 in Dallas and Houston. Colin Allred from Dallas, Lizzie Fletcher from Houston. And the third is from South Texas, Henry Cuellar, and he has a primary race coming up against this candidate who's been portrayed as sort of another AOC, another Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running against this Democrat. Her name is Jessica Cisneros, this candidate. Although I've had some national media calling me about this, and I'm trying to see where that candidate is actually like AOC at all. I mean, she does have the backing of some of these far-left progressive groups, but I don't know that she specifically has the profile of AOC. But this is part and parcel of what's going on here. This is a very political, as you allude to with what's going on with this impeachment. It's very political, and so there are political calculations. What do you know? There's gambling in this establishment. In those two swing districts, in Houston and Dallas, I think that those members of Congress have to think carefully about what they're going to do, whether they're going to vote for impeachment or not. And in that primary in South Texas, that seat's not going to go Republican, but there are considerations for the incumbent, whether he really wants to go there. And I think at the end of the day, guys, this really gives these folks nowhere to hide. I mean, at some point, they'll have to say what they're going to do on this.
But I was going to say, Cuellar, he's not a moderate by any means.
Cuellar?
I mean, he's halfway reasonable, but he's not a moderate.
He's fairly conservative Democrat, I would say. I'm not sure what you think about him, but if you think about the kind of politics that go on in South Texas, these are not liberals. The folks who
especially
represent
socially.
South Texas from socially and on guns, for example. If you're in South Texas and you're talking to a Democrat, the question is not whether or not they support gun rights or not. The question is, how many guns do you own? If you talk about abortion, a lot of these folks are people who would say that they're pro-life and vote that way in the Texas legislature, for example. On climate change, I'm not sure that they are, all about the Green New Deal. I mean, they're in the Eagle Ford Shale down there. I mean, oil and gas is huge in South Texas. So on issue after issue, you got to think that a place like South Texas, it's not like the Bronx. Where AOC was able to win her race against a, quote, moderate Democrat.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Now, this isn't, I don't know how much you know about this, but our local news was reporting about the delivery of alcoholic beverages, and that I guess the TABC is going to give out licenses, but is just now taking some type of thing. Did you know anything about that?
That some businesses are going to be delivering alcohol?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a bill passed this past session that had to do with, delivery of beer and wine. We already have.
So it's not going to be
delivery.
like Jack Daniels or something.
Well, we already have liquor delivery in the big cities. I don't know if there's various apps that you can use where those things like Jack Daniels and whatever else can be delivered to your home. There was some question about whether businesses like grocery stores that sell beer and wine, whether they could have those things delivered, because the liquor license for a full-on liquor store versus them selling beer and wine at the grocery store is a little bit different, and that's regulated a little bit differently. And so the governor did sort of brag about the idea that now we had beer to go, and we had the fact that some of this stuff could be delivered to your home, all around the state. And I think the governor simply said, enjoy responsibly.
So, well, I think you can be more responsible at home than getting in a car and driving.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
But let me ask you this: why can't we get mailed? Liquor through the mail? A lot of times, if you get it online, you can see prices that are much less expensive than what you get in the stores. Why can't we order online?
I mean, we basically have in this state a regulatory system that protects certain businesses. A lot of conservatives over the years have railed against the regulatory system as being sort of protectionist, and that's when it comes not only to beer and wine and liquor, and but also cars, for example. Why can't they sell cars every day of the week, or why can't you have direct auto sales from like Tesla, for example? They've argued a lot about that. I think there's movement in the direction of you being able to buy this stuff however you want to buy it, so for example, in the TABC legislation that was passed this year, the lawmakers included provisions for opening it up such that more licenses would be available, more liquor licenses would be available for businesses, that the cap would be raised on how many liquor stores one entity could own. So all of that stuff's sort of down in the weeds, but I think what it really means is that we are moving in the direction of what you're saying. And I think it'll take a few more legislative sessions, a few more years here. But we will get to the point, and this is the question I always get about this: why can't we buy liquor on Sundays in Texas?
Yeah.
And at some point, I think we will be able to. It's just it takes a long time.
Well, the answer is the liquor stores don't want to be open on Sundays.
Well,
that's one of the reasons.
Well, that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons is that those liquor store. It's a barrier to entry issue. So if you're starting out a smaller store and you need more revenue, you want to be open 7 days a week, right? But if you are one of the old, established liquor stores, it gives you a competitive advantage to not allow those smaller guys to be open on Sundays because they can't make as much money and try to keep up with you.
Hey, Scott, we're up against the clock. Got to run, but always glad to have you on our Friday report.
Hey, check us out at quorumreport.com. Thanks, Dave.
You betcha.
Thanks, Scott.